Good morning, Cheer TD family. Happy Monday. I just wanted to share some interesting content with you guys relating to cheer athlete stress management. So, this blog is up right now on our website at cheertd.com. And so, what we were talking about this week is how easy it is to get lost in the day to day of stress management, cheering, at games, doing homework, going to school, family obligations, hanging out with friends. And so we're noticing an interesting shift in how our athletes are kind of engaging in life, and it's quite different that we've noticed the shift in the last couple of years, and we just kind of wanted to talk to you guys about it to kind of get your thoughts on that as well. So the next couple of articles we're going to write are going to be pertaining to stress management on the athlete side. Then we're going to do a couple interviews with some higher level athletes so that we can kind of see if we can get some insight for you guys as to how to better manage all that stress. So for me, I'm actually an extremely busy person, and people are always asking me, well, what do you do for your job during the day when you're not doing like cheer titty training? And to be honest, I'm actually not in a lot of cheer titty trainings. We are fully staffed and we send everybody else out. Very rarely do I actually go into a practice and get to work with a team in the last couple of years. So I get to kind of see what happens in the background. So then the question is always, well, Dee, what do you spend the rest of your week doing if you're not in training? Well, someone, one, has to keep the show running smoothly as possible, as we like to think that our operations are pretty good and we always are working on ways to improve them. So I spend about 90 hours at least on a good week, on a slow week, a week doing cheer TD stuff. Rather, it's connecting with our coaches, creating ways to improve on what we're doing in terms of our programs and services to different teams, booking new clients, adjusting our schedule, making sure that our staff is very qualified for the teams that they get to work with in the sense of getting them training and certifications and all that other stuff. So my that chalks up for me about on a lower end 90 plus hours a week, and I spend in front of my computer. So total hours a week we get to work is 168 total for the week. So that is like 24 hours times 7 is 168. So that averages out about to me working about 12 and a half hours a day. And so I have been called a workaholic at times, among other synonyms that depict my ambition to continue building the best cheer company in the world as Cheer TD. But as an adult, I'm quite accustomed to this poor work life balance. But nowadays, I meet cheer athletes that are busier than I am. And cheerleading and dance athletes are out here doing some remarkable things with balancing your schedules. Such things including school, homework, cheer, practice, games, competitions, family obligations, sleeping. And it doesn't sound like anything out of the ordinary until I show you a breakdown of what it actually looks like. So before I go ahead into the breakdown portion of the math, my question is, are we raising a new generation of cheer and dance athletes that's so busy that the personal time it takes for us to reflect on our actions and improve as humans are now a thing of the past? And if that's the case, what does that mean for our future generation and where they're headed? And that's you as the athlete. Where are you headed with such busy schedules that you barely have time for fun to be a kid? When you're done with college and you go into the workforce, it's go, go, go. So, are we making sure that we're making time for our athletes now to enjoy their childhood, their adolescent years, to say they went bike riding often, went to the beach, and are we making sure we're working that into your schedule? So that's the real question that I want to address. And what most cheer athletes don't stop to think about is when you guys go so hard, what does that do for your emotional impact? Like, assuming the goal is to get an A minus average on all registered classes, let's break down and see how you're really living. And I say A minus because as a cheerleader or dancer, like you should be doing fantastic academically. There's no excuse as to why you should not be getting an A minus minimum GPA and also doing your cheerleading and dance commitments to the best of your ability. So let's show you the numbers. So the numbers break down like this. I'm going to go quite quickly and I'll write it on the screen to kind of show you what the breakdown actually looks like. So Out of 168 hours that we have for the week, no matter who you are, that is how long you have. And so let's deduct 35 hours a week for school. And if you practice an average of 3 days a week, let's add another, let's reduce that 168 by 38 by 8 hours. And athletes who do cheer for a school team can also add an additional 5 hours just for games. And so for the average 15-year-old high school student, a total 48 hours a week between school practices and games during your off season. So if we account for homework, let's add an average of 17 and a half hours, assuming you have at least 5 classes per week. So this totals up to a whooping 65 and a half hours a week on school and cheerleading practices and games alone. Since there's only 168 hours, this equates to around 40% of your 7 day week cycle that you're utilizing for just going to school, doing homework, and practicing. But let's not forget about the average 8 hours of sleep that's recommended every night for you to have the most functioning, high functioning brain. And this brings us up to 121 hours out of 168. So you've now used up 72% of your time for the week when you add in the amount of time you should be getting for sleep. So with 46 and a half hours left, roughly, for a 7 day week, if we were to split this up on a daily basis, it would be about 6.5 hours a day. But we know that a lot of our days are longer. So let's assume that there's not a healthy balance of which days are longer and which days are shorter. So when we're looking at work-life balance for cheer athletes in their life, that's quite a lot of math to consider. So before you as cheer athletes can even get into the workforce, you're working the amount of hours that a law partner works on a weekly average. Like, that's insane, right? And so where are we helping you on the energy side of things? And what can we as coaches, parents, counselors, friends do to help these athletes maintain a healthy school activity life balance? And we're going to explore those questions over the next few articles that we're going to write to try and help our athletes gain a true insight into how they're spending their time and in what areas we feel that you can adjust to make the most out of your adolescent years that are not that long if you really think about it. So the other question that we're talking about now too is who's helping you with these calendars and who's setting you up for all these 100 trillion things that you have to constantly do. So, and when the cheer athletes grow up, who's going to help them stay this organized? So we're assuming that the parents are the ones setting the schedule along with coaches and counselors, other school officials sending information to your family, and they're putting it on a schedule for you. So how does this contribute to your development as adult citizens? For me, it starts by letting you guys have room to be kids, allowing you time to pursue passions outside of your activities in school. And there has to be some kind of balance that you don't just feel drained every day, like got to go to school for 8 hours, have to go to practice for 3, have to come home and do homework, eat, then sleep. That doesn't leave a lot of wiggle room for, let's go have an adventure. I'm a child. Let me go and, I don't know, ride my bike for 26 miles randomly with a couple friends. So there has to be a balance, and that's what we're kind of pushing for right now. But we feel that more than ever, we're coming across athletes who are absolutely exhausted going into their senior years in high school. And by the time they get to their senior year, that's when they're actually at the lowest level in terms of their performance because they're just completely exhausted. They've been ran into the ground and they don't know where else to find the energy to, technically they should be peaking at this point in their life because they've gotten used to the long days and basically 72% of their time being used for something that is not really in their control. So how can we help these athletes come that stage in life be more productive? And so we're going to spend the next couple of weeks, like I said, discussing this topic in more details. And we welcome your questions and anything else that you have in terms of feedback, suggestions, concerns, as we continue to develop this series of better athlete stress management. So in the meantime, let me know if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, and we look forward to the next topic that will help to give some insight that will be for the better for our athletes to learn how to balance this hectic life that they are living. So until then, see you later, Gators.